Hey everybody, Happy New Year. 2020 is now history. To start off the new year, we're going to talk about the top 5 historical events that happened in Disney. Let's unlock Disney. All right, again, Happy New Year, everybody. I hope everyone had a great Christmas and a great New Year's Eve. And we could put 2020 behind us. It is history. And speaking of history, we're going to talk about the top 5 historical events that have happened in Disney. You like that segue? I'm getting better with this. I think I am. Or I may just be convincing myself that I am. Either way, I'm going to keep doing these videos. Let's go to school, all right? We're going to learn. Starting it off with number 5, Nancy Kerrigan. So for my younger crowd that's listening to this right now, Nancy Kerrigan was like the sweetheart of America for the 94 Olympics. She was a figure skater. And the whole story behind that was she was like our best. And there was this girl, Tanya Harding, who was really jealous, and she wanted to be sure to make the team. So by trying to make the team, she hired someone to hit Nancy Kerrigan in the leg with a pipe. I'm not making this up. Look it up. To hit her with a pipe so that she wouldn't be able to do the Olympics, and then Tanya Harding could take her spot. It was a mess. Needless to say, she does get hit in the leg with the pipe, but it wasn't bad enough to where it actually took her out of any competition. So she went on to be in the Olympics. Everybody loved her. She was, like I said, America's darling. She got the silver. Oksana Bayou got the gold. But America continued to just love Nancy Kerrigan. Love her. And then she was sponsored by Disney. Disney paid her $2 million, which is a normal thing, just to do commercials, some live TV stuff, and be a part of a parade after the Olympics. This is where America just decided we don't like you anymore. While she was actually in the parade, she was on video saying things like, "This is so corny. This is the dumbest thing I've ever done." And you may say, well, that's not that big a deal. But when you're paid $2 million, Disney frowns on the fact that you're clowning them. And not only that, when you are America's darling for that little period of time, for you to like down Disney World and all that stuff, it actually really messed up her career. And honestly, she lost a bunch of endorsements after that, and it was just a real mess. All right, next we have 4 and 3. And I'm putting them together because it's the same guy, President Nixon. So coming in at 4, this is more of like a silly kind of thing, but it actually happened. Walt Disney kidnapped Vice President Nixon and his family. I'm not even joking. Technically, when the monorail was being brought to Disneyland, at the time, Nixon, who was vice president, brought his family, and Walt Disney invited him. And they were going to do a whole presentation thing, like you're watching right now. So what you're watching right now is the actual presentation, like the show, debuting the monorail. Well, him and his family had come earlier in the day to check it out. Well, the ride had only been done one time. Like, it really didn't have a whole lot of safety checks. So they were inside the monorail, Vice President Nixon and Walt Disney and their families. And Walt thought it would be fun to just turn it on and go. However, the issue with this is that the Secret Servicemen that were there with Nixon had no idea that this was going to happen. So technically, when Walt hit go and there were no Secret Servicemen on board and Nixon didn't know what was going on, he kidnapped them. I mean, that's by law, he kidnapped them. So as it did its trip around the park, as it came back in, as it was slowing down, you could see the servicemen, the Secret Service, actually walking at the same speed as the monorail, a little perturbed. But then when the monorail opened up and you hear Nixon's kids yell out, again, again, it kind of calmed everything. But by the technical term of the law, Walt Disney kidnapped Nixon. Coming in at number 3, again, like I said before, 4 and 3 are both President Nixon. So 4 was Vice President Nixon, and now he is bopped up to President Nixon. So everybody knows this famous speech, the I am not a crook speech. And you may be saying, what does this have to do with Disney World? Well, the famous speech was actually held at the Disney Contemporary. So the next time you're taking that monorail into Magic Kingdom and you go through the Contemporary, you can say, hey, this is where President Nixon said he wasn't a crook. And turned out he was a crook. Spoiler, I'm sorry. And now on to number 2. Number 2 is awesome. Okay, so a little after Disneyland opened in 1955, this dude named Elmer Doolin convinced Walt to let him open up a Mexican restaurant. He got so popular with this restaurant that he went on to start Frito-Lay. And they continued in Disneyland and did awesome. But in 1960 is when the historical event happens. So I've heard the story a number of different ways, but basically Alex Foods, which is a delivery service, would deliver to Southern California, and Disneyland was one of its stops. A route driver noticed that they were throwing away tortillas, and he was like, hey, don't throw away your old tortillas, just deep fry them and turn them into chips. So they did just that. The leftover tortilla chips were huge, and Casa de Fritos, which is what the little restaurant in Disneyland was called, added them to the menu and called them Doritos. So obviously Doritos went on to change a little bit, and they would add flavors and things like that. But Doritos were invented and created in Disneyland. And now the drum roll, because we're going to number 1. Drum roll. Do we not have a drum? Or is our budget that low that we can't even get? Do we have bongos or congas or something? All right. I'm going to skip the drum roll. But before we hit to number 1, hey guys, if you could just take a moment and hit like and subscribe, it means a ton for the channel. It would mean a ton to me, and I would greatly appreciate it. Only takes a second. Like, subscribe, bell notifications. All right, I'll stop. My spiel is done. Okay, on to number 1. So when I was trying to think of the order to put the top 5 in, I really like Doritos as number 1, but then I'm like, I can't disrespect the Beatles. If the Beatles are in any list, it's just disrespectful to not put them at the top. So coming in at number 1, the Beatles. And again, you may say, what do the Beatles have to do with Disney World? Well, on December 29th, 1974, was the official end of the Beatles. What's crazy is they were all supposed to get together in New York City, and all the lawyers were there, and it was a planned thing to get together and dissolve the group, sign off on everything, and everybody was there except for John. And after hunting him down, they found out he decided to go to Disney World. So the rest of the crew were a little bit upset about that, and rightfully so. So lawyers were sent down to Disney World. They found John at no other than the Polynesian Resort, and that is where it officially ended for the Beatles. The greatest band of all time ended in the most magical place on earth. So that's our top 5 historical events that have happened in Disney. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it, and I look forward to the next time we can share a video together. All right, guys, so long.